Yes, well, you're in a minority suddenly as a winner because I'd been there the year before as a loser. And it's a much bigger party. At 65, Colin Firth should be enjoying a life filled with honor and applause. For decades he has been admired for his quiet charm, powerful performances, and unforgettable roles. From romantic heroes to deeply complex characters, he won hearts around the world. But behind the fame and awards there is a story few truly understand. Time has brought unexpected challenges, personal pain, and difficult moments that changed his life. This is the hidden chapter of Colin Firth's journey, one far more heartbreaking than anyone imagined. So, join us in this video as we reveal the details, the scandal that shattered his image. In 2018, Italian headlines exploded with shocking news about Colin Firth and his wife, Livia Giugioli. She had filed stalking charges against a journalist named Marco Brancaccia, a man she had known since childhood. The claims were serious and disturbing. Livia said Marco had harassed her for years, sending threatening messages and refusing to leave her alone. She described feeling afraid, trapped, and overwhelmed. Colin quickly released a public statement, standing by his wife. He called the situation deeply distressing for their family. The British press supported that version of events. Livia was presented as a victim, Marco as an obsessed predator. It was a clean, dramatic story, greater than, and people accepted it without much question. Colin, always seen as the perfect gentleman, defended her without hesitation. But behind closed doors, the truth was far more complicated. Back in 2015 and 2016, Colin and Livia, greater than, had quietly separated. Only a small circle of close friends knew they were taking time apart to rethink their marriage. During that painful period, Livia reconnected with Marco in Rome. Old memories turned into regular conversations. Those conversations slowly became something more. What began as a friendship grew into a full affair. They were even seen together in Italy, far from the British media spotlight. Later in 2016, Colin and Livia decided to reconcile. She ended the relationship with Marco. According to those close to the situation, Marco did not handle the breakup well. The messages that followed were emotional and angry. They reflected hurt and confusion from someone who felt abandoned. Livia called them threateningly. Marco insisted they were not, and Colin believed his wife. The case moved forward in Italian courts. With Colin's full support, his name, his reputation, and his resources stood behind her claims. Then in 2019, everything changed. Livia suddenly withdrew the charges. She admitted that the relationship with Marco had been consensual. She acknowledged that she had misrepresented parts of what happened after the affair ended. The stalking case collapsed. Marco had kept messages and evidence showing the relationship was mutual. Italian media turned sharply against Livia, accusing her of false claims. British tabloids, however, kept the update quiet, protecting Colin's image as much as possible. But for Colin, greater than, the damage was done. He had defended someone who had not only betrayed him, but had also placed him in the middle of a legal fight built on shaky ground. Greater than. Friends later said he was deeply hurt. It was not just infidelity, it was public humiliation and private heartbreak mixed together. For a man known for playing honorable characters, this was painfully real, and this time there was no script to guide him forward. How did the scandal affect Colin's marriage? Stay tuned to find out. When the marriage finally ended in December 2019, Colin Firth and Livia Giugioli released a joint statement announcing their separation. The words were calm and carefully chosen. They spoke about maintaining a loving friendship while walking separate paths. They promised to co-parent their children with respect and privacy. It sounded peaceful, almost gentle, the kind of message shaped by lawyers, polished to avoid drama or future legal trouble. What the statement did not say was how broken Colin truly felt. 22 years of marriage had ended. More than 2 decades of shared memories, homes, travels, and plans were suddenly reduced to a few lines of formal language. The timing made it even harder. The separation unfolded during awards season. Colin still had films to promote and red carpets to walk. He showed up alone, dressed sharply, smiling for the cameras. He gave thoughtful interviews about his work, speaking with the same steady voice people admired. No one watching would have guessed that his private world was falling apart. Greater than, that is the burden of being a professional. When you are known for delivering performances, people expect you to keep performing even when your real life is in pieces. The divorce became final in 2020, just as the world shut down during the pandemic. It was terrible timing, as cities locked down and people retreated. Indoors, Colin found himself facing a different kind of isolation. His sons were grown, building lives of their own. The house in Italy, once a symbol of shared dreams and family holidays, turned into another item to be discussed. In legal meetings, dividing property felt colder than the heartbreak itself, putting numbers on a life once built on. Love can feel cruel. Colin handled everything quietly. He refused to speak publicly about the divorce. When reporters tried to ask, he gently redirected the conversation back to his work. Still, those who worked with him noticed a shift. He seemed more withdrawn, more careful. The natural warmth he once carried on set now looked like effort. Friends later shared, always anonymously, that Colin had started therapy. Greater than he was trying to process not only Livia's affair but also his own part in the story. Had he ignored warning signs? Had he chosen peace over truth because the truth felt too painful? Those questions are heavy. They force a person to look inward in ways that can be uncomfortable. For years, Colin had been the steady one, the man who made things work. Now he had to wonder whether that steadiness had hidden fear. Was his loyalty pure love, or was it also a fear of ending up alone? There were no simple answers. The settlement details stayed private, though experts believe it cost him greatly, not only financially but emotionally. He was no longer the husband in a passionate Italian marriage. He was a divorced man in London, learning who he was without the role he had played the longest. Greater than, and this time there was no script to guide him through the ending. But before the scandal and the divorce, what was Colin's love story like? Were there signs that it would turn out the way it did? Keep watching to find out. A love story that looked perfect. In the early 1990s, on the set of a BBC miniseries filmed in Italy, Colin Firth met Livia Giugioli for the first time. She was working as a production assistant. She had that effortless Mediterranean warmth that felt worlds away from Colin's quiet British reserve. Their connection was instant, but it was not simple. Colin was careful by nature. He thought deeply before making decisions, especially about love. Livia was different. She was passionate, outspoken, and full of energy. Friends later said she completely disarmed him. For a man known for being private and guarded, that feeling was both exciting and frightening. She did not seem impressed by his rising fame. Instead, she talked about art, about the environment, about to change the world. That sincerity drew him in. They married in 1997 in a ceremony that was small and private, exactly how Colin wanted it. Together, they built a family with 2 sons, Luca and Matteo. But there was something many people did not know. Luca was born before the wedding from one of Livia's previous relationships. Colin adopted him without hesitation and raised him as his own. To outsiders, this looked like proof of deep character and unconditional love. And perhaps it was. But it also created a pattern. Colin was always the one adapting, always the one making sure everything held together. The family divided their time between London and a villa in Umbria. The countryside home became Livia's great project. She turned it into an eco-friendly retreat, hosting environmental gatherings and sustainability workshops. Colin proudly supported her vision. He funded the renovations and praised her passion in interviews. The press loved the image. They were seen as thoughtful and grounded, raising children away from Hollywood noise. When Colin attended red carpet events alone, he would explain that Livia preferred meaningful causes to celebrity life. People admired that choice. But behind the admiration was a quieter reality. In interview after interview, Colin described Livia as his anchor, his inspiration, his reason for balance. He spoke about what she stood for, about her ideals and strength. He rarely spoke about what she gave him emotionally. Over time, that difference mattered. Those close to them noticed certain patterns. Livia had strong opinions about his career. She believed some roles elevated him while others did not fit their shared values. Colin usually agreed. He trusted her judgment. He had once found in her a rescue from loneliness, and that kind of bond can make a person tolerate more than they should. He felt needed. That feeling gave him purpose. But being needed is not the same as being valued. And when the truth about their marriage finally surfaced, it did not just break his heart. It forced him to question everything he thought their love story had been. As time went on, Colin was entangled in another drama. It seems his life was just a big heartbreak after all. Stepping into controversy as his personal life was quietly unraveling, Colin Firth found himself facing another storm, this time professional. He had taken on a leading role in the 5-part television drama Lockerbie: A Search for Truth, a series centered on the 1988 Lockerbie bombing. But long before it aired, the project had already stirred deep and painful debate. The drama focused on Dr. Jim Swire, a father who lost his daughter Flora in the bombing of Pan Am Flight 103. Firth had portrayed Dr. Swire, drawing from the man's own book and long-held belief that the attack had not been carried out by Libya alone. Swire had publicly questioned the conviction of Abdelbasset al-Megrahi, the Libyan man found guilty in 2001. He had argued that Iran may have been responsible and that Megrahi had been the victim of a grave miscarriage of justice. That claim had troubled many families of the victims. The American-based campaign group, Victims of Pan Am Flight 103, had voiced serious concerns. They had feared the series would promote what they called a false narrative, one that most bereaved relatives did not support. Michelle Kulala-Lipkin, whose father Frank Kulala had died in the bombing, had spoken publicly. She had said the production amplified a version of events that many families had fought against for years. By focusing so closely on one father's story, she felt the wider grief of other families had been overshadowed. Firth had reportedly taken these concerns seriously. Insiders had said he was uneasy about how strongly the drama challenged the original conviction. He had believed the series might powerfully influence public opinion, much like Mr. Bates versus the Post Office had reshaped views on the postmaster scandal. He had wanted reassurance that he was part of something responsible, not something careless. During filming, Firth had met with Dr. Swire, members of Megrahi's defense team, and journalist John Ashton, whose 2012 book, Megrahi, You Are My Jury, had questioned key evidence in the case. Ashton had argued that a crucial fragment of the circuit board said to have triggered the bomb might not have been authentic. Sources later claimed that after these meetings, Firth had felt reassured about continuing the role. The series, co-produced by Carnival Films and based on the 2021 book The Lockerbie Bombing, A Father's Search for Justice, had been scheduled to air on Sky TV. It had also starred Catherine McCormick and Ardalan Ismaili. For Firth, it had not simply been another acting job. It had been real history, real grief, and real controversy. And once again, he had found himself standing carefully in the middle of something far bigger than a script. But before the scandals and controversies, who was Colin Firth, and where did his story start? Keep watching to find out. The making of a quiet outsider. Colin Firth was born. Colin Andrew Firth on September 10, 1960, in the small village of Greyshot, Hampshire. He came from a deeply academic family. His mother, Shirley Jean Rolls, worked as a lecturer in comparative religion at what was then King Alfred's College, now known as the University of Winchester. His father, David Norman Lewis Firth, was a history lecturer at the same college and also served as an education officer for the Nigerian government. Colin was the oldest of 3 children. His sister Kate later became an actress and voice coach, while his brother Jonathan also pursued acting. Faith and service shaped much of the family's background. His maternal grandparents were congregational ministers, and his paternal grandfather was an Anglican priest. Both sides of the family were involved in missionary work overseas. In fact, both of Colin's parents were born and spent part of their childhood in India, giving the family a strong international outlook from the very beginning. Because of his parents' careers, Colin's childhood was far from settled. He spent several early years in Nigeria, adjusting to different cultures and surroundings. When he was 11, the family moved to St. Louis, Missouri. He later described that period as difficult. Feeling different and out of place became a familiar experience. When the family returned to England, he attended the Montgomery of Alamein Secondary School, now called King's School in Winchester. At the time, it was a state comprehensive school. Firth did not easily blend in. He was seen as an outsider and became a target for bullying. To survive socially, he adopted the local Hampshire accent and even pretended to share his classmates' lack of interest in school. It was a defense mechanism, a way of protecting himself. Yet even during those uneasy years, something creative was growing. At the age of 10, he began attending drama workshops. By 14, he had already decided he wanted to become a professional actor. Schoolwork itself did not inspire him. He later admitted he found school boring and uninspiring, feeling disconnected from most subjects. Everything changed when he attended Barton Peveril's sixth form college in Eastleigh. There, an English teacher named Penny Edwards sparked in him a deep love for literature. Those 2 years became some of the happiest of his life. After finishing sixth form, he moved to London and joined the National Youth Theatre. He worked in the wardrobe department at the National Theatre, learning from the inside. Eventually, he trained formally at the Drama Centre, London, laying the foundation for the career that would later define him. How fast did his rise come? Let's find out. From promising actor to reluctant heartthrob after training at the Drama Centre, London, Colin Firth began proving himself on stage before moving fully into film and television. In his final year production at the Drama Centre, he played Hamlet, a demanding role that showed early signs of the quiet intensity he would later become known for. In 1984, he made his film debut as Tommy Judd in the screen adaptation of Another Country, acting alongside Rupert Everett. Firth played the thoughtful Marxist friend to Everett's character. The project marked the beginning of a long and very public feud between the two actors, one that would eventually be resolved years later. Early success followed when he starred opposite the legendary Laurence Olivier in the television adaptation of Lost Empires based on the novel by J.B. Priestley. By 1987, Firth had been grouped with other rising British talent such as Tim Roth and Kenneth Branagh as part of what the media called the Brit Pack. That same year, he appeared in A Month in the Country, a quiet film that reflected a theme critics began noticing in his work: damaged men shaped by war. In 1988, he portrayed real-life soldier Robert Lawrence in the BBC drama Tumbledown. The story followed Lawrence's severe injuries during the Falklands War and his painful struggle to adjust to disability and public indifference. The drama sparked political controversy, but Firth's performance earned him a Royal Television Society Best Actor Award and a BAFTA nomination. He continued to take bold roles. In 1989, he starred in Valmont, directed by Miloš Forman. Though released close to Dangerous Liaisons, it did not achieve the same impact. That year, he also appeared in the psychological thriller Apartment Zero, playing a socially awkward and paranoid character. Everything changed in 1995 with the BBC adaptation of Pride and Prejudice, as Mr. Darcy Firth became a household name. Acting opposite Jennifer Ale, he brought depth and restraint to the role. A now famous lake scene not found in Pride and Prejudice unexpectedly turned him into a romantic icon. While he appreciated the success, he feared being typecast. He cleverly played against that image in Bridget Jones's Diary, portraying Mark Darcy, a modern nod to his earlier role. The film was a major hit and led to a successful sequel. Before that, he had appeared in The English Patient and later in Fever Pitch. The early 2000s brought variety. Love Actually, Girl with a Pearl Earring, and even the musical hit Mamma Mia. Each project showed a different side of him, whether playing a grieving son, a romantic lead, or singing nervously on screen. Firth continued building a career defined by range restraint and quiet, emotional depth. With success and recognition, how did this phase shape Colin's life even more? Keep watching to find out. Triumph, recognition, and the weight of great roles. By 2009, Colin Firth had already built a long and respected career, but that year marked a turning point. At the 66th Venice International Film Festival, he received the prestigious Volpi Cup for Best Actor for his performance in A Single Man, directed by fashion designer turned filmmaker Tom Ford. In the film, Firth portrayed George Falconer, a college professor grieving the sudden death of his longtime partner. It was a quiet, controlled performance filled with loneliness and buried pain. Critics called it the best work of his career. The role earned him nominations for an Academy Award, Golden Globe, Screen Actors Guild Award, BAFTA, and Critics' Choice Award. In February 2010, he won the BAFTA Award for Best Actor in a Leading Role. For many, it felt overdue. Then came the role that would define a generation of his career. In 2010, Firth starred in The King's Speech, playing Prince Albert, Duke of York, who later became King George VI. The film told the story of a man struggling with a severe speech impediment while preparing to lead Britain through uncertain times. At the Toronto International Film Festival, the movie received a standing ovation. By coincidence, the screening took place on Firth's 50th birthday, which many described as the perfect gift. Awards followed quickly. In January 2011, he won the Golden Globe for Best Actor in a Motion Picture Drama. Soon after, he received the Screen Actors Guild Award for Best Male Actor. In February, he won his second consecutive BAFTA for Best Actor. On February 27, 2011, he was awarded the Academy Award for Best Actor. The film itself became a global success, earning more than $400 million worldwide. Rather than slowing down, Firth continued choosing complex roles. In 2011, he appeared in Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy, adapted from the novel by John le Carré. Acting alongside Gary Oldman, Benedict Cumberbatch, Tom Hardy, Mark Strong, and John Hurt, he played Senior Intelligence Officer Bill Hayden. Reviews praised the film's tension and Firth's confident performance. That same year, he filmed Gambit, a remake of the 1960s crime comedy originally associated with Michael Caine. Released in 2012, it struggled both critically and financially. Even so, critics noted that Firth remained steady and grounded even when the material faltered. In 2012, he co-founded the production company Raindog Films with entrepreneur Jed Doherty. Their first major feature, Eye in the Sky, was released in 2016 and showed Firth's growing interest in meaningful storytelling behind the camera. He continued balancing serious drama with lighter projects. In 2014, he stepped into the action genre with Kingsman: The Secret Service, playing the sharp and stylish agent Harry Hart. The film became a major box office success and introduced him to a new, younger audience. He returned for the sequel, Kingsman: The Golden Circle. He reprised Mark Darcy in Bridget Jones's Baby, which was warmly received. In Genius, he portrayed editor Max Perkins opposite Jude Law. He also appeared in The Happy Prince, directed by Rupert Everett. In 2018, he returned in Mamma Mia, Here We Go Again, and appeared in Mary Poppins Returns. He later took on dramatic roles in 1917 Supernova and The Staircase. In 2025, he starred in Lockerbie: A Search for Truth, portraying Jim Swire. Even after decades in the industry, Firth continued choosing roles shaped by grief duty and quiet resilience themes that by then mirrored parts of his own life. Beyond the screen. What did Colin find passion in? Let's find out. Advocacy beyond the screen. Colin Firth has long used his public platform to support causes he deeply believes in, particularly the rights of vulnerable and marginalized communities. He has been a steadfast supporter of Survival International, a non-governmental organization dedicated to defending the rights of tribal peoples around the world. Speaking in 2001, Firth explained, "My interest in tribal peoples goes back many years, and I have supported Survival ever since." His commitment was not merely symbolic. He actively lent his voice to campaigns and public awareness efforts. In 2003, while promoting Love Actually, Firth spoke out in defense of the indigenous San people of Botswana. He condemned the government's eviction of the Ghana and Gui people from the Central Kalahari Game Reserve. Beyond Botswana, he backed campaigns to protect the Awa-Gwaja people of Brazil, whose lands and livelihoods were under threat from illegal logging and governmental inaction. His advocacy helped bring international attention to the plight of these communities, highlighting systemic injustices that many governments overlooked. Firth's humanitarian concerns extended beyond tribal issues. He supported the Refugee Council, campaigning against the deportation of 42 Congolese asylum seekers who risked death if returned to the Democratic Republic of Congo. His advocacy helped secure last-minute reprieves for 4 of the threatened asylum seekers, demonstrating the tangible impact of celebrity activism when paired with sustained attention and moral clarity. In addition to refugee and indigenous rights, Firth took part in global campaigns addressing economic justice. He joined the Oxfam-led Make Trade Fair initiative, which highlighted unfair trade practices affecting producers in developing nations. The campaign criticized dumping high import tariffs and violations of labor rights, pushing for systemic changes that could improve living standards for marginalized communities. To further his commitment to sustainable practices, he co-founded Eco, an eco-friendly shop in West London, providing fair trade and environmentally responsible goods while also offering expert advice on energy-efficient living. Firth's political engagements extended to digital activism. In October 2009, he and his then-wife, Livia Giugioli, launched Brightwide, a website dedicated to film-related political and environmental activism. which encouraged audiences to engage with pressing social issues. Although the site has since been decommissioned, it reflected Firth's belief that awareness and action could be combined in innovative, public-facing ways. Politically, Firth has not shied away from expressing his evolving positions. During the 2010 general election, he supported the Liberal Democrats, motivated largely by his concern for asylum and refugee rights. Later in December 2010, he withdrew his support, criticizing the party's reversal on tuition fees and declaring himself unaffiliated. He also advocated for reform of the British electoral system, supporting the shift from first past the post to an alternative vote method during the 2011 referendum, which ultimately failed. Environmental issues have also been a consistent focus. In 2009, Firth joined the 1010 Project, a campaign encouraging people to reduce their carbon footprints, emphasizing the responsibility of individuals to contribute to climate solutions. The following year, he endorsed the UK branch of Roots and Shoots. What else did he give his time to besides his advocacy? Stay tuned to find out. Firth's voice. Beyond acting, Colin Firth has always used his creativity to support causes close to his heart, extending his work beyond acting into writing, producing, and advocacy. His first published work, The Department of Nothing, appeared in the 2000 anthology Speaking with the Angel, edited by Nick Hornby. The collection was created to benefit the Treehouse Trust, a charity supporting autistic children. Firth met Hornby while filming the original Fever Pitch, and the collaboration reflected a shared commitment to social causes. In 2009, Firth contributed to We Are One, a celebration of tribal peoples, a collection highlighting Indigenous cultures' diversity and the challenges faced by tribal communities worldwide. The book included contributions from prominent Western thinkers such as Noam Chomsky, Claude Lévi-Strauss, and Lawrence van der Post, as well as Indigenous voices like Davi Kopanawa Yanomami and Roy Sasana. Profits from the book benefited Survival International, reinforcing Firth's long-term advocacy for tribal rights. He also moved into film production for socially conscious projects. Firth served as executive producer for In Prison My Whole Life, which featured intellectual voices including Chomsky and Angela Davis. The documentary explored the case of Mumia Abu-Jamal and broader themes of justice and incarceration. It premiered at the 2007 London Film Festival and was selected for the 2008 Sundance Film Festival, giving it an international platform to spark debate. Firth also engaged in scientific and intellectual work. In December 2010, he served as guest editor for BBC Radio 4's Today programme, commissioning research into whether structural differences in the human brain could explain political leanings. Volunteers, mostly university students, had their brains scanned, and the resulting academic paper listed Firth as a co-author alongside University College London researchers. And the programme's science reporter, Professor John Jost, praised Firth as a scientific ambassador in political neuroscience. The study suggested that conservatives tended to have greater development in the amygdala, while liberals showed increased development in the anterior cingulate cortex, reflecting a tangible intersection of science and civic curiosity. In 2012, Firth brought his voice to literature through audiobook work. His recording of Graham Greene's The End of the Affair was released on Audible and went on to be declared Audiobook of the Year at the 2013 Audie Awards. This recognition highlighted his ability to convey nuanced emotion and gravitas not only on screen, but through the spoken word, showing that his talents could bridge multiple forms of storytelling while continuing to engage audiences thoughtfully and meaningfully. What are your thoughts about Colin Firth's heartbreaking story? Let us know in the comments section below. From the glittering stages of London to the quiet solitude of his own home, Colin Firth's life has been a blend of brilliance, betrayal, and resilience. Every chapter, from his rise as a household name to the heartbreak of personal and public betrayals, reveals the cost of fame and the fragility of trust. At 65, the tragedy of Colin Firth is beyond heartbreaking and tells a story of talent shadowed by private pain. If this deep dive into his life moved you, like, subscribe, and turn on notifications, then click the next video to uncover more untold stories of iconic lives behind the spotlight.